A thin line of white ash, almost as narrow as a pencil mark, lies buried beneath meters of dark soil in India. It is the unmistakable sign of a volcanic monster. For decades, many researchers believed that this layer of volcanic ash marked the moment when humanity came close to extinction. According to this theory, the eruption darkened the sky, caused extreme global cooling, and reduced the human population to only a few thousand survivors struggling in the darkness. But when scientists examine the soil more closely, a powerful contradiction appears. The ash may not tell the story of a frozen apocalypse. Instead, it may reveal a remarkable story of human resilience, unexpected environmental heat, and an evolutionary advance that helped shape who we are today. Chapter 1. The mountain that became a lake. A supereruption on land is extremely rare. It is also one of the greatest tests of our planet's geological forces. To understand the enormous disaster that occurred around 74,000 years ago, we must travel to the Barisan Mountains of north-central Sumatra. This volcanic region was created by the movement of the Indo-Australian plate beneath the Eurasian continental crust. The two plates move past one another at a rate of approximately 56 millimeters each year. Beneath northern Sumatra, this movement is strongly affected by a special geological structure called the Investigator Fracture Zone, or IFZ. The IFZ is a long and heavily fractured fault zone stretching for more than 2,500 kilometers across the floor of the Indian Ocean. It separates two very different sections of the oceanic plate. The northwestern section is younger, warmer, and contains more fluids. The southeastern section is colder, heavier, and approximately 15 million years older. When this fractured oceanic plate sank beneath Sumatra, it released large amounts of heat, water, and volcanic gases. This caused intense melting inside the Earth's mantle and helped create the enormous magma system beneath Toba. Modern underground imaging shows that the Toba supervolcano is fed by a huge network of magma layers. These layers are stacked above one another like giant geological pancakes. Scientists sometimes describe them as magma pancakes. Each layer measures around 10 to 20 kilometers across and lies beneath Sumatra Island, between approximately 7 and 30 kilometers below the surface. Above these deep magma layers is a shallower and more active magma chamber. The entire volcanic system lies beside the Great Sumatran Fault. This is a major fault running through the center of Sumatra. The fault creates cracks and weak areas in the crust. These weaknesses can provide pathways that allow magma to rise rapidly toward the surface during major volcanic events. Because of this unusual geological alignment, the Toba caldera complex contains 4 overlapping volcanic craters. These craters intersect with 3 older calderas that formed during eruptions over the last 1.2 million years. The youngest Toba eruption, which occurred around 74,000 years ago, was the violent climax of this long geological process. Sumatra Island also provides important evidence that the volcanic system beneath Toba is still active. After a supereruption, magma can slowly begin to refill the underground chambers. The pressure produced by this magma can push the ground upward by hundreds of meters over thousands of years. This process creates what scientists call a resurgent dome. Although another supereruption has not occurred since the youngest Toba event, Sumatra remains a highly active geological region. Earthquakes and smaller volcanic eruptions are still common. The eruption 74,000 years ago became the largest known explosive volcanic eruption of the entire Quaternary period. It was also one of the most violent explosive events in the history of our planet. The final stage of this enormous underground buildup produced the youngest Toba tuff eruption, also known as the YTT event. High-precision dating of volcanic minerals places the eruption between approximately 73,880 and 73,700 years ago. The main eruptive phase may have continued for between 9 and 14 days. During this period, 5 separate magma bodies became active after building pressure for several centuries. The amount of material released was almost impossible to imagine. Modern geological studies estimate that Toba erupted between 2,800 and 3,800 cubic kilometers of dense volcanic rock and debris. To understand this scale, the Toba eruption may have been around 10,000 times larger than the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens. It was also more than 100 times larger than the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora, which contributed to the famous Year Without a Summer. During the eruption, approximately 2,000 cubic kilometers of superheated volcanic material raced across the ground as deadly pyroclastic flows. These fast-moving clouds contained burning gas, ash, and rock. They destroyed and sterilized an area of at least 20,000 square kilometers. Near the main volcanic openings, the deposits reached thicknesses of up to 600 meters. Some of these flows may have traveled into the Indian Ocean and the Straits of Malacca. Another 1,800 cubic kilometers of fine ash and volcanic debris was blasted high into the atmosphere. The eruption column rose approximately 32 kilometers above the Earth, carrying ash directly into the stratosphere. Powerful high-altitude winds and the northern summer monsoon then carried this ash across an enormous region. The ash plume spread over the entire Indian subcontinent, covering the land with a continuous layer of volcanic dust. In central India, around 3,000 kilometers away from Toba, ash deposits can reach depths of up to 6 meters in some locations. Parts of Malaysia were covered by as much as 9 meters of ash. Volcanic glass from Toba has even been discovered far to the west on the floor of the Arabian Sea. In total, at least 1 centimeter of Toba ash may have covered more than 38 million square kilometers. This area was equal to approximately 7.5% of the entire surface of the Earth. After the eruption emptied much of the magma chamber, the ground above it collapsed. This created the enormous caldera that later filled with water and became Lake Toba. Samisir Island, located in the center of the lake, was later pushed upward by the pressure of magma slowly returning beneath the caldera. Sediments found on the island suggest that Samisir has risen by at least 450 meters since the Great Eruption. Smaller volcanic activity also continued inside and around the new caldera. The active Pusik-Bukit volcanic cone stands on the southwestern edge of the caldera, together with several smaller lava domes. The most recent possible activity may have occurred at Tandik Benua on the northwestern edge of the caldera. A small area without vegetation suggests that a minor eruption could have happened there within the last few hundred years. When the sky finally cleared, the mountain was gone. In its place stood a vast collapsed caldera, slowly filling with water to form the modern Lake Toba. But high above the Earth, an invisible cloud of sulfur gas remained trapped in the stratosphere. It was this cloud that would begin one of the most controversial scientific debates of the modern era. Chapter 2: The Birth of an Apocalypse Myth. The Toba Catastrophe Theory was born from a powerful connection between early climate models and new discoveries in human genetics. In 1993, science journalist Anne Gibbons suggested that the severe cold of the last ice age may have caused a dramatic decline in early human populations. She proposed that the Toba supereruption made this crisis even worse because it occurred close to the beginning of a major cold period known as Marine Isotope Stage 4, or MIS-4. Geologist Michael Rampino and volcanologist Stephen Self soon supported this idea. They proposed that the enormous release of volcanic sulfur from Toba caused rapid global cooling. According to their model, this cooling may have created a chain reaction. Lower temperatures allowed ice sheets to expand, while the growing ice reflected more sunlight back into space, causing the planet to become even colder. However, it was anthropologist Stanley H. Ambrose who formally developed the Toba Catastrophe Theory in 1998. He combined these climate models with early genetic evidence to explain an important mystery in human evolution. Compared with many other primates, modern humans have surprisingly low genetic diversity. This means that despite the enormous human population living today, our DNA is unusually similar. Scientists believed this limited diversity could be evidence of a severe population bottleneck. During such an event, the number of people capable of producing future generations becomes extremely small. A large part of the population disappears, and only a limited amount of its original genetic diversity survives. Ambrose examined early studies of mitochondrial DNA, Y chromosomes, and nuclear genes. He argued that a major human population bottleneck occurred approximately 74,000 years ago. This date appeared to match the time of the youngest Toba eruption. According to Ambrose's catastrophic model, the eruption released billions of tons of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere. This sulfur formed tiny particles that blocked and reflected sunlight, creating an extreme volcanic winter. Ambrose proposed that average global temperatures fell by approximately 3 to 5 degrees Celsius. In some continental regions at high latitudes, temperatures may have dropped by as much as 15 degrees Celsius. Such sudden cooling would have placed enormous pressure on plants, animals, and early human communities. In colder regions, reduced sunlight and falling temperatures could have caused vegetation to collapse. As plants disappeared, herbivores would have lost their food. Human populations depending on plants and animals would then have faced famine and increasing competition for the remaining resources. Ambrose connected this environmental crisis with two major cold events known as Greenland Stadial 20 and Heinrich Stadial 7a. He believed the Toba eruption helped begin Greenland Stadial 20, a severe cold period in the North Atlantic that continued for nearly 1,000 years. This cold phase was linked to a sudden weakening of the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, commonly known as the AMOC. The AMOC is a major system of ocean currents that carries warm water northward through the Atlantic Ocean. When this circulation weakened, less heat reached the northern hemisphere. This created a climatic pattern known as the bipolar seesaw. The Southern Ocean became warmer while the Northern Hemisphere experienced severe cooling and the growth of larger ice sheets. Supporters of the catastrophe theory also pointed to a huge sulfate deposit discovered in Greenland ice cores. This sulfate layer was dated to approximately the same period as the Toba eruption. It represented one of the largest sulfate events found in the ice core record. For supporters of the theory, this appeared to provide physical evidence that Toba had helped trigger the extreme cold phase. Ambrose argued that this sudden environmental collapse destroyed much of the early human population. According to the theory, the global population may have fallen below 10,000 people. Some estimates suggested that only around 1,000 to 10,000 breeding pairs of Homo sapiens survived. This extreme bottleneck could explain why modern humans possess such limited genetic diversity. Small and isolated survivor groups would have carried only a fraction of the genetic variation that existed before the disaster. Genetic drift would then have become much stronger. By chance, some genetic traits would disappear while others would become common among the survivors. Ambrose believed the disaster did more than reduce the number of humans. He argued that it also caused an important evolutionary change in human social behavior. Before the eruption, early modern humans may have lived in small, closed, and highly territorial groups. These groups may have behaved more like isolated primate troops, with limited peaceful contact between neighboring communities. But when the volcanic winter destroyed local food supplies, this isolated way of life may no longer have been effective. Communities could not depend only on the plants, animals, and water found within their own territories. A local drought, failed hunting season, or loss of vegetation could destroy an entire group. Survival therefore required people to build wider social relationships. Ambrose proposed that surviving human populations in Africa began forming cooperative regional networks that functioned more like tribes. These networks were supported by gift exchange, long-distance travel, shared resources, and agreements that allowed people to visit other territories during periods of famine. Items such as ostrich eggshell beads may have served as gifts or symbols of social relationships. Giving such objects to distant communities could help create trust and secure future access to food, water, or shelter. In this model, cooperation became a form of protection against environmental disaster. Ambrose also connected this social transformation with changes in the human skeleton. He suggested that humans living after the population bottleneck became more lightly built or gracile. According to this idea, natural selection may have favored people with lower levels of aggression and reduced competition within the group. Lower testosterone levels may have supported greater tolerance, cooperation, and peaceful interaction. These more cooperative human communities could share information, travel across larger regions, and support one another during periods of food shortage. Ambrose argued that other human groups, including the Neanderthals of Europe, did not complete the same transition from isolated troops to wider tribal networks. Neanderthals had powerful bodies that were well adapted to cold environments. Their short lower legs and broad pelvises gave them strength but may have made long-distance movement less efficient. These physical features may have tied them closely to specialized Ice Age environments and local hunting territories. According to Ambrose's model, Neanderthal groups also remained more isolated and territorial. Their limited regional networks made it more difficult to exchange resources or move across large distances when local conditions became dangerous. Modern humans, in contrast, could use wider social connections to survive difficult environments. They could exchange resources, share knowledge, and enter the territories of friendly groups during times of crisis. When the global climate became warmer during marine isotope stage 3, around 60,000 years ago, these cooperative modern human populations began expanding across Eurasia. Ambrose proposed that their stronger social networks and greater mobility allowed them to outcompete and eventually replace more isolated Neanderthal populations. For many years, this explanation appeared to connect geology, climate science, genetics, archaeology, and human behavior within one powerful theory. A gigantic eruption created a volcanic winter. The winter nearly destroyed humanity. The few survivors developed wider cooperation, stronger social networks, and new methods of survival. But to understand why this model later began to fall apart, we must examine the sky. We must study Toba's volcanic cloud not only through anthropology, but through the complicated physics of sulfur particles and atmospheric aerosols.
For more than 2 decades, the Toba Catastrophe Theory was presented as the ultimate story of human survival. It included everything: an enormous volcanic explosion, a global winter, humanity coming close to extinction, and a major change in human behavior that created modern tribal cooperation. The theory was elegant, powerful, and deeply attractive because people naturally love dramatic stories. However, as an archaeologist specializing in volcanic impacts, I must point out that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. When we apply careful physical testing to the main foundations of Ambrose's volcanic winter model, the entire catastrophic story begins to fall apart. The idea that a 6-year volcanic winter nearly wiped out humanity is fascinating, but it does not survive the clear evidence provided by modern atmospheric physics and archaeology.
Chapter 3: The microphysics of cooling. The main scientific weakness in the Toba Catastrophe hypothesis comes from its use of simple, linear models of volcanic cooling. Early climate simulations assumed that if an eruption released 10 times more sulfur into the stratosphere, it would produce 10 times more cooling. However, modern atmospheric models show that volcanic cooling does not work in such a simple way. Advanced aerosol models, including the community aerosol and radiation model for atmospheres, known as CARMA, show that the relationship between sulfur emissions and global cooling is highly nonlinear. When a supervolcano erupts, it releases enormous quantities of sulfur dioxide gas directly into the stratosphere. There, the sulfur dioxide reacts with water vapor and forms tiny liquid droplets of sulfuric acid. These sulfate aerosol particles can change the Earth's temperature in two opposing ways. First, they scatter and reflect incoming sunlight back into space. This reduces the amount of solar energy reaching the Earth's surface and causes cooling. Second, the same particles absorb some of the long-wave infrared heat rising from the Earth. This traps heat inside the atmosphere and produces a warming effect. The final temperature change depends on the balance between these two opposing forces. That balance is strongly controlled by the size, number, and concentration of the aerosol particles. During a moderate volcanic eruption, such as the 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo, the sulfur remains widely spread through the stratosphere. It forms a layer containing many small particles. These small particles are highly effective at reflecting incoming sunlight and creating surface cooling. But a supereruption like Toba releases much larger quantities of sulfur. At these extreme concentrations, two physical processes known as coagulation and condensation become much more important. Instead of producing an even greater number of small reflective particles, the high sulfur concentration causes the particles to collide with one another. They combine, grow, and form much larger droplets. As these aerosol particles become larger, they become less effective at reflecting incoming sunlight compared with their total mass. However, they can still absorb and trap outgoing infrared heat from the Earth. This means that adding more sulfur does not always produce more cooling. Beyond a certain point, the particles simply become too large to reflect sunlight efficiently. This coagulation process creates a natural physical limit on how much global cooling a volcanic eruption can produce. There is also uncertainty about how much sulfur the Toba eruption actually released. Because sulfur had low solubility inside the Toba magma chamber, the amount of volcanic gas released may have been limited from the beginning. Scientific estimates cover a wide range. However, evidence preserved in ice cores suggests that Toba may have released around 100 million tons of sulfur. This was an enormous amount, but it may have been only around 100 times greater than the sulfur released during the 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo. Advanced atmospheric simulations led by researchers Zachary McGraw and his colleagues at NASA's Goddard Institute for Space Studies examined this physical limit in greater detail. The researchers simulated supereruptions using many different aerosol particle sizes. Their models showed that rapid particle coagulation places a limit on volcanic cooling. According to these simulations, even an extremely large sulfur injection may produce no more than approximately 1.5 degrees Celsius of average global cooling. The important point is that increasing the amount of sulfur does not continue to increase cooling at the same rate. Once the particles begin growing rapidly, the atmosphere responds differently. In the most extreme simulations, the aerosol droplets became exceptionally large. Under these conditions, the models produced an unexpected result. Instead of widespread cooling, some regions experienced warming because the large particles trapped outgoing heat more effectively than they reflected incoming sunlight. This physical limit suggests that the youngest Toba eruption may not have changed global temperatures much more than the largest eruptions of recorded history. These include the 1257 eruption of Samalas and the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora. Both eruptions caused serious climatic disturbances. However, neither produced a complete global ecological collapse or a 1,000-year volcanic winter. The Toba eruption was undoubtedly one of the largest volcanic events in Earth's history. But the enormous size of an eruption does not automatically mean that it produces equally enormous atmospheric cooling. The size of the sulfur particles, the speed at which they combine, and the balance between reflected sunlight and trapped heat all control the final climatic effect. But atmospheric models are still calculations based on physical assumptions. To determine whether Toba truly froze the planet, scientists must also examine physical evidence preserved in the landscape. Some of the most important evidence lies beneath and around the Toba ash layer in the ancient river valleys of southern India.
This nonlinear behavior of sulfate aerosols completely changes our understanding of volcanic cooling. It shows that Earth's atmosphere has natural physical limits that prevent one massive sulfur release from pushing the planet into an uncontrolled ice age lasting many years. Early models assumed that Toba's enormous sulfur release could have caused up to 8 degrees Celsius of global cooling. But when scientists calculate the real behavior of the particles using interactive atmospheric physics, they find that the particles quickly become too large and fall out of the atmosphere. Because of this process, the global temperature decline was probably limited to around 1.5 degrees Celsius. Toba was certainly a colossal volcanic event, but its ability to cool the atmosphere was strongly limited by the laws of physics.
Chapter 4. Under the Ash of Jualapuram. To settle the debate between different climate models, researchers began examining detailed environmental evidence preserved on land. One of the most important locations is Jualapuram, in the Jualapuram Valley of southern India. This region lies directly within the main path of ash released by the youngest Toba eruption. In 2007, archaeologist Michael Petraglia and an international research team challenged the Toba Catastrophe Theory by excavating stone tools found beneath, inside, and above the thick layer of Toba ash. The researchers discovered more than 200 Middle Paleolithic stone tools beneath the ash. They also found 108 artifacts within the ash layer and another 168 directly above it. If a long volcanic winter had destroyed the local population, the archaeological record should have shown a clear break. There should have been a period with no tools, followed by a major change in technology when new groups eventually returned to the valley. But that is not what the researchers found. The stone tools remained almost identical below, within, and above the ash layer. The same methods of shaping stone continued across the eruption boundary. This continuity strongly suggests that the local hominins survived the ashfall. They remained in the region and continued using the same technology to adapt to their environment. Some locations in India, including the Middle Sun Valley, show a temporary reduction in sediment deposits after the eruption. However, the Jualapuram Valley contained many natural springs. These reliable water sources may have provided local people with an important refuge during the difficult environmental conditions. The clear technological continuity at Jualapuram suggests that humans and many other forms of life survived the super-eruption. This evidence directly challenges the idea that Toba caused widespread animal extinctions and an immediate human population collapse across the region. In 2025, a major study led by researcher Gopesh Jha of the Max Planck Institute of Geoanthropology provided the first detailed seasonal record of environmental conditions directly after the youngest Toba eruption. Jha and his research team examined a rare, high-resolution sediment profile at Jualapuram. This profile preserved evidence from 6 annual monsoon cycles following the eruption. The sediment contains 6 or 7 separate folds of Toba ash. Between these ash deposits are 6 grayish-brown layers of hardened soil known as hardpans. These hardpans were created during separate annual monsoon seasons. Rainwater washed, compressed, and redeposited the loose volcanic ash each year. Because each hardpan represented a separate rainy season, researchers could study how the environment changed year by year after the eruption. The team used several advanced scientific methods to examine the sediments. These included X-ray fluorescence, stable carbon isotope analysis, infrared spectroscopy, X-ray powder diffraction, and electron microscopy. Together, these techniques allowed the researchers to build a detailed record of chemical and environmental changes during the years following the Toba eruption. Statistical analysis showed a clear difference between the volcanic ash, the hardpan layers, and the soil that existed before the eruption. This confirmed that the layers had different chemical compositions. It also allowed scientists to trace how the ash was weathered, moved, compacted, and hardened over time. The environmental sequence identified by Ja's team supports earlier research from the Jualapuram Valley. The main volcanic ash deposits did not experience years of freezing conditions. Instead, they underwent rapid chemical weathering under a hot and dry monsoon climate.
This 2025 study from Jualapuram is a major blow to the traditional volcanic winter model. For many years, the catastrophe theory assumed that the sky became dark and the environment turned into a freezer. But Ja's season-by-season geochemical evidence shows something very different. In India, at the very center of the Toba ashfall zone, the main danger was not freezing cold. It was a severe drought lasting several years, combined with intense warming of the land surface. The local hominins did not freeze to death. They survived several years of extreme heat and dryness before the climate became stable and the environment recovered. This regional variation shows why global climate models can be misleading when they ignore physical evidence collected directly from the land.
Chapter 5: Blue Highways of the Horn of Africa. In the lowlands of northwestern Ethiopia, beside the Shinfa River, lies an important Middle Stone Age site called Shinfa 1. The Shinfa River is a major tributary of the Blue Nile. Paleoanthropologist John Kappelman and his colleagues discovered the site in 2002. It preserves a continuous record of human life from the years before, during, and after the Toba supereruption. Scientists were able to identify the exact period of the eruption through microscopic pieces of volcanic glass known as cryptotephra. The chemical composition of these tiny glass particles matches volcanic material released by Toba in Sumatra. The particles are smaller than the width of a human hair. Researchers therefore needed highly specialized laboratory methods to separate them from the surrounding archaeological soil and identify their source. Kappelman's team also studied oxygen isotopes preserved in fossil animal teeth and pieces of ostrich eggshell. These chemical signals allowed the researchers to reconstruct the local climate around the time of the eruption. Their results showed that people occupied Shinfa 1 during a period of extreme seasonal dryness. The conditions were similar to some of the driest environments found in East Africa today. The volcanic aerosols released by Toba did not freeze this region. Instead, the eruption appears to have created a longer and more severe dry season. The flowing Shinfa River eventually dried up and separated into small, isolated water pools. Despite this serious environmental pressure, the early modern humans living at the site did not move toward extinction. Instead, they showed a remarkable ability to change their behavior according to the environment. As the river stopped flowing and the remaining pools became smaller, wild animals gathered around the limited water sources to drink. Humans took advantage of the situation by hunting land animals near the waterholes. Fossil bones carrying clear butchery marks show that they hunted animals such as antelopes and monkeys. At the same time, the shrinking pools trapped and concentrated large numbers of fish. The archaeological layers formed after the eruption contain an unusually large number of fish remains. Researchers found almost 4 times more fish bones than in the layers formed before the eruption. This evidence shows that humans changed their diet when land-based food became more difficult to obtain. They began depending much more heavily on fish as a reliable source of food. Catching fish inside small, shallow pools did not require boats, nets, or other advanced fishing equipment. The concentrated fish could be collected more easily, making them an efficient seasonal food source during the severe drought. The stone tools found at Shinfamatima-1 also reveal an important technological development. Researchers recovered around 16,000 pieces of shaped stone from the site. Among them were several small, carefully made, and highly symmetrical triangular points. Microscopic analysis of damage and wear on these points showed that they had been used as arrowheads. At approximately 74,000 years old, these artifacts may represent the earliest clear evidence of archery in the human archaeological record. This means that early modern humans were probably using bows and arrows to hunt during this difficult period of extreme dryness. Bows and arrows allowed hunters to strike animals from a safer distance. They also made it possible to hunt smaller and faster animals more efficiently. The combination of fishing, flexible hunting, and advanced stone technology shows that these people responded actively to environmental stress. They did not depend on only one kind of food or one method of survival. John Kappelman and his colleagues argued that this flexibility may also change our understanding of how Homo sapiens migrated out of Africa. The traditional green corridor theory suggests that early humans moved across the landscape mainly during wet periods. According to this idea, greater rainfall created green environments with abundant plants, animals, and water. Human populations then expanded through these resource-rich corridors. But the evidence from Shinfamatima-1 suggests another possible migration route known as the Blue Highways. During severe dry periods, rivers stopped flowing continuously and broke apart into separate waterholes. As each pool became smaller and its food resources were exhausted, human groups had to move along the river channel in search of the next source of water. The seasonal river channels therefore became natural pathways through dry landscapes. Instead of expanding because conditions were comfortable, people may have been pushed forward by hunger, water shortages, and environmental pressure. These rivers acted almost like environmental pumps. They moved human groups from one waterhole to another as each local refuge became too dry or depleted. This process may have helped drive the most recent and successful movement of modern humans out of Africa during periods of intense aridity. The evidence from Shinfamatima-1 therefore presents a very different picture of the Toba eruption. The eruption did not destroy the local human population. It created difficult conditions that demanded greater flexibility and innovation. Humans changed what they ate, where they hunted, and how they used stone technology. They hunted animals gathered near shrinking waterholes, collected fish trapped inside shallow pools, and used bows and arrows to survive in a dry and changing landscape. These adaptations may also have helped humans travel through difficult regions and expand beyond Africa. But if humans survived so successfully on the ground, why does modern human DNA appear to show a major population bottleneck around the same period? To answer this question, we must separate the proposed volcanic winter from the much more complicated evidence preserved in human genetics. The grayish-brown hardpan layers formed under conditions of intense evaporation and moisture loss from the soil. These layers provide direct geological evidence of a severe regional drought that continued for several years. The early human populations of southern India therefore appear to have faced a warm and extremely dry environmental crisis rather than a long, icy volcanic winter. The chemical evidence revealed a complicated environmental sequence with three main phases. During the first year after the eruption, the region experienced a brief and limited cooling effect. However, this cooling did not continue for many years. It was quickly followed by a longer period of strong surface warming and severe dryness. The researchers discovered increasing amounts of dolomite within the sediment. They also found progressive chemical changes in the volcanic ash and a major decline in indicators of soil weathering. Together, these signs point to intense evaporation and strong moisture loss from the land. The local environment became hotter and drier, not colder. Jha and his colleagues proposed that the huge quantity of sulfate aerosols released into the stratosphere weakened the Indian summer monsoon. The eruption may also have disturbed the large atmospheric circulation system that helps drive the monsoon, known as the Hadley circulation. At the same time, it may have disrupted the El Niño Southern Oscillation, which strongly influences rainfall and temperature patterns across the Indian Ocean region. The weakened monsoon reduced rainfall across southern India. This created a period of drought, dry soil, and warmer land surface temperatures. The region may have experienced a post-volcanic El Niño-like warming effect rather than the extreme freezing conditions predicted by the original catastrophe theory. This severe arid phase continued for several years. But by the sixth year after the eruption, the environmental evidence began to show stabilization and recovery. Dolomite levels declined sharply, suggesting that extreme evaporation was weakening. Local sea foregrasses also began to return, showing that the ecosystem was recovering as rainfall and environmental conditions became more stable. The evidence from Jualapuram therefore reveals a much more complex environmental response to the Toba eruption. There may have been a short period of cooling, followed by several years of intense heat, weak monsoon rainfall, and severe drought. Despite these difficult conditions, the archaeological record shows that local human populations continued living in the valley and producing the same types of stone tools. This pattern of intense dryness combined with remarkable human adaptability was not limited to India. Across the Indian Ocean, early modern humans in the Horn of Africa were facing similar environmental challenges. They too responded with remarkable flexibility, innovation, and survival skills. Chapter 6: Decoupling the Human Genome. The central claim of the Toba Catastrophe Theory is that the youngest Toba eruption caused a worldwide population collapse that nearly destroyed humanity. However, modern genetic research directly challenges this idea. The theory of a severe human population bottleneck first gained scientific support in 1972. Early studies of human hemoglobin discovered surprisingly few genetic variations among modern people. Researchers believed that this low genetic diversity could only be explained by a major decline in the human population. They proposed that the number of humans may have fallen to only a few thousand individuals and remained low until relatively recent times. Later genetic studies confirmed that the effective population size of modern humans remained surprisingly small during much of the Middle and Late Pleistocene. Effective population size, often written as N, does not represent the total number of people alive. It refers to the number of individuals who successfully contributed their genes to future generations. For much of this long period, the human effective population size may have remained close to 10,000 individuals. But whole genome sequencing and advanced population models now show that this low genetic diversity was not created by one sudden volcanic disaster. Instead, it reflects a much longer history of low population density, geographic separation, migration, and repeated changes in population size. These changes were influenced by long glacial and interglacial cycles caused by shifts in the Earth's orbit. Using complex Markov models and complete modern human genomes, geneticists have reconstructed separate population histories for African and non-African groups. The results show that non-African populations experienced a long and gradual decline beginning nearly 200,000 years ago. Their population reached its lowest point between approximately 60,000 and 40,000 years ago. During this bottleneck, the effective size of non-African populations declined by around 5 to 15 times. By approximately 50,000 years ago, their effective population size may have been only 1,000 to 3,000 individuals. This decline did not occur suddenly at the time of the Toba eruption. Instead, it represents the classic genetic pattern of a founder effect. A founder effect occurs when a small number of people separate from a larger population and establish new communities in another region. These small migrant groups carry only part of the genetic diversity found in the original population. As a few thousand modern humans migrated out of Africa and spread across Eurasia, they carried only a limited portion of Africa's much greater genetic diversity. The lower genetic diversity of non-African populations therefore reflects the bottleneck created by migration and expansion. It does not necessarily represent a worldwide physical extinction caused by a volcanic winter. African populations followed a different demographic pattern. They experienced a slightly earlier and less severe population decline, followed by an earlier recovery. Genetic estimates based on present-day Luya and Maasai populations suggest that their effective population sizes reached their lowest point between approximately 80,000 and 70,000 years ago. The Yoruba population appears to have reached its lowest point later, around 50,000 years ago. Most importantly, the effective population size within Africa remained close to 10,000 individuals during these periods. This was much larger than the effective size of the non-African population. The population changes also did not occur at exactly the same time in every region. This lack of demographic synchrony creates a major problem for the Toba Catastrophe Theory. A truly global volcanic winter should have caused a sudden and simultaneous population collapse among both African and non-African human groups. Instead, genetic evidence shows separate regional patterns connected to local environmental pressures, migration, and geographic isolation. The separation between genetics and volcanology becomes even clearer when human DNA is compared with the DNA of other animals. Supporters of the catastrophe theory argued that the human bottleneck was a unique evolutionary event caused by a worldwide volcanic winter. But if the entire planet had experienced a decade-long ecological disaster, many other mammal species should show severe population bottlenecks at exactly the same time. This should be especially clear among primates and other animals that are highly sensitive to changes in climate and food availability. However, researchers have not found synchronized and catastrophic genetic bottlenecks across the different animal species that lived during the Toba eruption. The absence of this pattern suggests that the reduction in human genetic diversity was not caused by a global ecological collapse. It was more likely the result of regional migration, isolation, and founder effects. Comparative genetic research also shows that human evolution includes several other bottlenecks that were much more severe than the proposed Toba bottleneck. Around 1.2 million years ago, the effective population size of our ancestors may have fallen below 26,000 individuals. This decline may have resulted from repeated population crashes or the replacement of some human groups by competing Homo populations. A much more serious bottleneck occurred between approximately 930,000 and 813,000 years ago. This period coincided with the severe ice age conditions of marine isotope stage 22. During this ancient crisis, the effective population size of our ancestors may have fallen to only around 1,280 breeding individuals. This event may have brought the human ancestral population much closer to extinction than anything connected with the Toba eruption. Another major genetic bottleneck occurred much later, during the Neolithic period around 5000 BC. This event affected the Y chromosome, which is passed mainly through the male line. However, it was not caused by a physical collapse of the entire population. Instead, it represented a dramatic decline in the number of men who successfully produced children. During this period, genetic estimates suggest that reproduction may have occurred at a ratio of approximately 1 man for every 17 women. The rise of farming, pastoral societies, warfare, and powerful male-controlled social hierarchies may have allowed a small number of men to father children with many women. This greatly reduced male genetic diversity without causing the total human population to collapse. These different examples show that a genetic bottleneck does not always represent mass death or near extinction. It can also be produced by migration, geographic isolation, social structure, or unequal reproductive success. The human genetic bottleneck associated with the period around 74,000 years ago was therefore real, but modern evidence suggests that it was mainly a regional demographic effect connected to the movement of small human populations out of Africa. It was not necessarily caused by the Toba super-eruption. Modern genetics has also revealed something even more extraordinary. Hidden deep within our DNA are genetic signatures left by ancient encounters with human relatives whose existence was unknown until recently. Chapter 7: Ghosts and Super-Archaic. For decades, scientists believed that the human family tree was a simple branching structure. Modern humans were thought to have expanded across the world and replaced all other human groups without mixing with them. However, ancient DNA recovered from Neanderthal and Denisovan fossils completely changed this picture. The genetic evidence showed that our ancestors regularly interbred with the human relatives they encountered. Today, people outside Africa carry approximately 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA. Some populations in Asia and Oceania also carry as much as 4% Denisovan ancestry. But this raised another important question. What about the ancient human populations that left no known fossils, or whose DNA was never preserved? Could their genetic traces still be hidden inside people living today? To search for these lost branches of the human family tree, researchers at the University of California, Berkeley developed an advanced computational method called TRACE. TRACE stands for Tracking Archaic Contributions via Ancestral Recombination Graph Estimation. The method studies complete genomes from people living today. It then reconstructs an ancestral recombination graph, which is a detailed map showing how different sections of DNA are connected through shared ancestors over millions of years. Using this advanced genetic analysis, the researchers discovered that modern humans carry DNA inherited from 2 previously unknown and extinct human relatives. The first population was described as a ghost ancestor. This ancient group interbred with modern humans in Africa before 50,000 years ago, prior to the major expansion of Homo sapiens out of Africa. TRACE suggested that DNA inherited from this ghost population makes up approximately 1% of the modern human genome. This is similar to the amount of Neanderthal ancestry carried by many people today. The ghost lineage separated from the ancestors of modern humans around 800,000 years ago. This was close to the period when the ancestors of Neanderthals and Denisovans also separated from one another. At some later point, this ghost population encountered and interbred with modern humans inside Africa. Most importantly, the researchers found this ghost ancestry in both African and non-African populations. This means that the genetic mixture probably occurred before the major migration of modern humans out of Africa. The second mysterious population identified by trace was even older. Researchers described it as a super-archaic ancestor. This ancient human lineage separated from other human ancestors nearly 1.8 million years ago. Its history may overlap with early Homo erectus populations that lived across Eurasia. These super-archaic humans probably interbred with Denisovans in Eurasia more than 200,000 years ago. Much later, Denisovans mixed with modern humans who were expanding through Asia. Through this chain of interbreeding, a small amount of super-archaic ancestry eventually entered the genomes of modern people in Oceania. Approximately 1 to 2% of the ancestry found in some Oceanian populations may come indirectly from this extremely ancient lineage. This discovery is remarkable because researchers recovered the genetic legacy of a human population that may have existed more than 1 million years ago, even though no DNA has ever been directly sequenced from its fossils. The genetic contributions from these ancient populations were not simply random remains of past interbreeding. Many inherited sections are concentrated in areas of the human genome connected to immune protection and metabolism, including regions associated with the MUC19 gene. When modern humans entered unfamiliar regions, they encountered new climates, foods, parasites, and infectious diseases. The human groups already living in those environments had spent hundreds of thousands of years adapting to those local pressures. By interbreeding with these established populations, migrating modern humans gained useful genetic variants that had already been shaped by natural selection. Some of these inherited genes strengthened immune defenses or helped the body respond to unfamiliar diets and environmental conditions. Because these genetic variants provided survival advantages, they were preserved and spread through later generations. This ancient mixture helped modern humans adapt to the many different ecosystems they encountered while expanding across the planet. The human family tree was therefore not made of separate branches that never touched. It was a complex network of populations that repeatedly separated, migrated, met again, and exchanged genes. Neanderthals, Denisovans, African ghost populations, and Eurasian super-archaic humans all contributed small pieces to the genetic history of people living today. Our ancestors survived the Toba super-eruption and many other environmental challenges. In doing so, they left us with a powerful lesson about adaptability, connection, and survival. Chapter 8. Conclusion: The true measure of human resilience. Scientific understanding of the Toba super-eruption has changed greatly during the past several decades. The theory that a single volcanic winter pushed early humanity to the edge of extinction created a dramatic and powerful story. However, modern physical evidence and advanced scientific models do not support such an extreme interpretation. Atmospheric science shows that sulfate aerosol particles do not continue producing greater cooling as more sulfur enters the stratosphere. At very high concentrations, the particles collide, combine, and grow larger. These larger particles reflect sunlight less efficiently and may also trap outgoing heat. This physical process appears to limit average global cooling from even a super-eruption to approximately 1.5 degrees Celsius. Environmental records from South Asia and East Africa support this more limited climatic effect. Instead of showing evidence of worldwide freezing, these records reveal strong regional differences. Some areas experienced short-term cooling, while others faced severe drought, weaker monsoons, surface warming, and extreme seasonal dryness. Archaeological evidence also shows that early human communities did not suddenly disappear after the eruption. At Toba in India's Middle Sun Valley, the same styles of stone tools continued across the Toba ash boundary. This technological continuity suggests that people survived the ashfall and continued using familiar methods to shape their environment. Even close to the volcanic center in Sumatra, human populations were successfully living in dense tropical rainforests not long after the eruption. Fossils discovered in Lida Ajur cave, dating from approximately 73,000 to 63,000 years ago, show that modern humans were able to occupy difficult rainforest environments during this period. Along the coast of South Africa, human populations at places such as Pinnacle Point and Vliesbaai appear to have increased their use of coastal resources after the eruption. These communities depended on stable and nutritious marine shellfish. Coastal foods were protected from many of the environmental changes affecting plants and animals farther inland. Early modern humans possessed the behavioral flexibility needed to respond to different environmental pressures. They changed their diets, moved between habitats, developed new hunting methods, used coastal resources, and maintained their stone tool traditions. They adapted, they innovated, and they survived. This new understanding of Toba also contains an important warning for the modern world, especially for proposals designed to reduce global warming through geoengineering. One proposed method is called solar radiation management. It involves deliberately injecting sulfur particles into the stratosphere to imitate the cooling effects of volcanic eruptions. The goal would be to reflect part of the sun's energy back into space and temporarily lower global temperatures. However, the nonlinear behavior of volcanic aerosols shows that extremely large sulfur injections may not produce the expected amount of cooling. As the particles combine and become larger, their ability to reflect sunlight may decline rapidly. At the same time, these particles could cause dangerous and unpredictable regional climate changes. Evidence from India and Africa after the Toba eruption suggests that stratospheric aerosols can weaken monsoon systems, disrupt seasonal rainfall, and contribute to severe drought. A geoengineering project intended to cool the planet could therefore reduce rainfall in some regions, damage agriculture, and threaten the water supplies of millions of people. Ultimately, the story of the Toba supereruption is not mainly a story of human weakness. It is one of the strongest examples of human resilience. Our ancestors did not simply gather in one isolated refuge while the rest of humanity disappeared. They survived one of the greatest volcanic events in Earth's history by responding differently in different environments. They changed their food sources, developed useful technologies, moved along rivers and coastlines, formed wider social connections, and continued expanding into new parts of the world. Their survival was not based on physical strength alone. It depended on flexibility, cooperation, innovation, and the ability to learn from changing conditions. Knowing that our ancestors survived these environmental challenges through cooperation and adaptability, how would our modern and globally connected society respond if a supereruption on the scale of Toba occurred today? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching.
The Blue Highways hypothesis completely changes our understanding of early human migration. For many years, we assumed that humans moved only when the climate was pleasant and natural resources were plentiful. But Shinfamatima 1 shows that environmental pressure, seasonal drought, and limited resources can become powerful causes of human migration. Our ability to adapt allowed us to survive these difficult conditions. Humans changed from hunting land mammals to collecting fish concentrated inside shrinking waterholes. They also used advanced technology, including bows and arrows, to move successfully through these dry environmental corridors. The Toba eruption did not stop human migration. It may actually have encouraged the adaptable behaviors that eventually pushed our ancestors into the wider world. My Voice Commentary 5. When we examine the genetics of other mammals, the Toba Catastrophe Theory begins to fall apart completely. If a volcanic winter lasting an entire decade had frozen the whole planet, Every major mammal species living at that time should show the same sudden and catastrophic population bottleneck. But genetic studies of 28 mammal species from every continent found no such pattern. Even environmentally sensitive species showed no clear decline in their genetic diversity. The human genetic bottleneck from around 74,000 years ago was real. However, it was a localized demographic founder effect connected to our migration out of Africa. It was not caused by the Toba super-eruption. My Voice Commentary 6. The discovery of ghost and super-archaic human lineages provides powerful evidence against the Toba Catastrophe Theory. If our species had been reduced to a tiny and isolated population of only a few thousand individuals in Africa, much of this highly localized genetic inheritance would probably have disappeared. Instead, the survival of Neanderthal, Denisovan, African ghost, and Eurasian super-archaic DNA shows that human history was not simply a narrow story of near extinction. Our history was a complex and interconnected web of populations. These populations were repeatedly connected through migration, contact, and genetic mixing across enormous geographic distances. We did not survive by hiding together inside one isolated cave. We survived because human populations were highly connected, flexible, and adaptable.